Back in 1913, that was when the Federal Reserve Bank was created. And the Federal Reserve Bank, although they're called the Federal Reserve Bank, they're not federal. It says so on their website. They're not a reserve. They don't hold any cash reserves, and they're not a bank because you and I can't go there to deposit money. However, they are the central bank of the United States, and they have the ability to essentially control our monetary supply, meaning they have the ability to print money and they have the ability to increase or decrease interest rates. And the reason why this matters is because now if the United States government wants to spend a lot of money, right? Let's say they want to spend money on the military, they want to spend money building bridges, they want to spend money doing whatever, giving this money to foreign countries. It does not matter what they want to do. They got to get this money from somewhere. Now, normally, where does the government get their money? They get their money from you and me, taxpayers, through tax dollars. But if they don't have enough tax dollars, then they're going to have to borrow this money somehow if they want to keep spending it, right? If you want to go to Gucci and you want to buy a $5,000 purse, but you got $2,000 in your bank account, well, then you're going to have to put that money in your credit card. It's the same thing with the United States government. If they spend money they don't have, they got to borrow this money from somewhere. And the credit card for the government is essentially the Federal Reserve Bank. So now if the government wants to spend money they don't have, they can borrow this money. And one of the biggest investors, meaning lenders for the United States government, is the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, just so you know, this is kind of an aside, anybody can lend money to the United States government. You do that by buying a treasury. So you can buy a treasury. We have foreign governments buying treasuries. But the Federal Reserve Bank is the largest investor in these treasuries. They're the largest lender to the United States, which means if the United States government wants to spend money they don't have, the Federal Reserve Bank can print this money and give it to the United States government. But the way this used to happen isn't the way that it happens today, because back in 1913, when the Federal Reserve Bank would do this, they would need more wealth to justify more spending. Think of it this way. If you wanted to go out and spend an additional $1 million, the bank would say, well, how much collateral do you have? What do we get in case you default? And your collateral might be your home, it might be your business, it might be whatever other assets you have. You'd have to show these things. That's what the United States government would have to do too. And the collateral used to be physical gold. And so the government, if they wanted to keep printing and spending more money, they needed to show more wealth, which was physical gold. But that changed in 1971. When the dollar was taken off of the gold standard. The reason why was, well, President Richard Nixon and our economy was facing some financial hardships, and we were facing tough times where we couldn't pay all of our bills. And because of that, well, President Richard Nixon decided to sever the dollar and the gold standard. That way the government could print more money without more wealth. Now, you could just create more dollars, pay your bills, no problem, right? Well, yeah, in a sense, because now you can pay these bills, but now you're paying these bills that you have to pay with bills that are essentially made up, because it's now money that's not backed with any precious metal. It's money that's just pieces of paper that's backed by a promise that the United States government says that your dollars have value. So this was when the central bank was created. This was when the central bank now had the ability to essentially print money on command, because now you don't need more physical gold to keep printing money. Now, obviously, there's a consequence to unlimited printing of money, because if the government can just spend unlimited amounts of money and the Federal Reserve Bank can print unlimited amounts of money, why do we need to pay taxes in the first place? And the consequence is inflation, which of course we've been seeing for the last number of years, especially post-pandemic. I mean, inflation did not start in 2020. I know a lot of people started to become more hip to the idea of inflation after 2020, but inflation has been around long before 2020. Funny story. My first video to ever go viral on YouTube was a video I published in 2016 where I originally talked about how inflation is eating away at the value of your dollars.
Hey, where'd all my money go?
Don't believe me? The price of things go up by 3% a year. It's called inflation.
It was a very new concept, so people thought that was crazy, and it decided to go viral because it was a new concept for a lot of people. Then came 2020, and of course, inflation became very popular. So, what does this mean? Well, if you print a lot of money, then you risk inflation, and inflation disproportionately hurts the financially uneducated while benefiting the financially educated. And inflation is not going away. The Federal Reserve Bank says that they want a 2% inflation target. They don't want to see 0% inflation. They definitely do not want to see negative inflation, which would be good for the average person because that means the prices of things are falling. But the central banks say and make it very clear they do not want negative inflation. Inflation is going to continue happening. Things are going to continue getting more expensive. Their goal is to see the prices of things rise less aggressively, not rise. And this is where it is important for you to understand this, because this is going to continue happening. And if you want to build wealth in this economic system, you have to understand how the economic system works. in the first place. Because most people are playing in this game. They're going to work, trying to save money, trying to invest money, but they don't even understand the way that the system works. They don't understand how money works. And then you're trying to play this game of trying to build wealth without even understanding how money works in the first place. You gotta start by understanding the system, then you start learning about investing, then you start putting your money to work. That way you can actually build wealth. If you enjoyed this clip and you wanna continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you gotta do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who wanna stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.